Now for Rouge's story. The president says that an ancient gizoid weapon was sealed and misplaced 50 years ago, and was recovered by Eggman. It wasn't his to begin with. The president tells Rouge she can get all the necessary information at the central lab and gives her the lab pass. Rouge is happy about the prospect that she can use the computer system to find out the locations of various treasures somehow. So there's top secret government treasures? Otherwise, why can't she just use the internet? The government computer tells her that there's an error because it's being accessed by someone else at the same time, which makes no sense, and Rouge complains about it. Rouge finds out that the login username of that other person is Eggman. Why did he use his own name as his username? Shouldn't he have used something more anonymous? Well, he's never been known for his common sense. That's why he didn't put any loyalty insurer on Shadow. Rouge finds out that Eggman has been accessing the computer from Highway. That's the blandest name for a highway ever. And yet Rouge still figures out that it's just around the corner. It must be the only highway with that name. It's really weird to see Eggman saying this. I get it, he's like 55 years old and this is a video game, but still, he's an adult and this isn't the 50s. Rouge tells him that he's wanted by the government for getting Emerald. Wouldn't Eggman have been wanted by the government long before that? Eggman tells Rouge dismissively that he tossed out Emerald at the beach already, and shows her one of the fake emeralds that he built. After Rouge destroys the fake emerald, she gets a piece of a Chaos Emerald from its rubble. Why doesn't he put the emerald locators in flying badniks that fly so high that none of his enemies see them? They could scour the entire world and easily find all the emeralds. Why would he restrict it to ground robots that are easily defeated and contain pieces of emeralds for the heroes to get? Rouge decides to go to Central Lab and learn more about Emerald to prevent Eggman from getting him. How would that do that? The security guy gets angry. She is a jewel thief after all, so it makes sense that she wouldn't have a good reputation. I like her dialogue here. Recap is boring. Okay, the message says that you establish a link through external contact, but Eggman clearly made external contact with Emerald when he smacked him at the start of the game. Eggman couldn't establish a link because he didn't have special powers to show off. If he had cyborg powers, maybe he could've. Rouge decides to go to Emerald Beach to find Emerald and sees Sonic showing Emerald's power and establishing a link. Thankfully, Rouge's story cuts to after Rouge gets Sonic to tell Emerald to listen to her commands, so we don't have the story pad out even longer. Amy calls out for Sonic, and Sonic tells Emerald to listen to whatever Amy has to say before running away, leaving Tails and Emerald to deal with Amy. I don't like how Amy looks when she says this. Tails ends up giving Amy the idea that Emerald's like Sonic's baby, and Amy interprets this as Sonic being ready for starting a family with her and using Emerald as a practice son. This game writes Amy like a terrible fanfiction, although at least it's interesting. When Tails doubts her, and Amy gets annoyed, she has this really stupid looking picture with her hand on her back and her leaning over that honestly makes her look like a cranky old lady yelling at kids to get off her lawn. Tails' picture shakes, and he says he'll go look for Sonic as an excuse to get away from her. It's actually pretty sweet though, Amy's interactions with Emerald. It's cute. Amy asks if he wants to play, and it's clear that she thinks it's cute too. Huh? I thought Amy hated Rouge. At least she's not being self-righteous and judgmental to her. This is keeping in line with her being idealistic, which is good, but it's inconsistent with how Sonic and Tails have treated her. Because she admires Sonic, I expected her to act like Sonic towards her. Maybe she doesn't know how Sonic treats her. She doesn't even seem to hold it against her that she does dirty deeds. Amy doesn't really seem to hate Rouge until Rouge decides to try to steal Emerald from her. And then a fight breaks out. I like how they give Amy an actually justified reason to get really mad at Rouge, instead of her just fighting her because she implied Sonic didn't love her or she somehow thought Sonic was into her. After Rouge leaves with Emerald, Amy complains. You mean she's worked out before? It is close to SA1, so I guess it makes sense that she gets insecure quickly. Amy tells Tails that Emerald was kidnapped by Rouge, and I like how she apologizes and actually takes responsibility instead of just insulting her. I like how Rouge admits that she thinks Amy is a tough girl. It means she still respects her. Then a Gamma shows up, and Emerald and Rouge have to fight him. Afterwards, Rouge comments that the guard robo resembled Omega. First of all, Gamma looks absolutely nothing like Omega. What, did she think all robots look the same? She shouldn't if one of her friends is a robot. And second, if she thought that guard robot looked just like Omega somehow, then why didn't she see him and immediately go, "Oh, hi Omega," instead of not being confused? So she knows he doesn't look exactly like Omega. Rouge tells Emerald to head for her place, in Night Babylon. What kind of name for a place is that? The Babylon rogues weren't a concept by this point. Why would she live here? Maybe she's just more comfortable living where she's always lived regardless of how much money she's making. I guess she thinks she's among kindred spirits here. Rouge owns a club? They would only do this to get crap past the radar. Amy catches up with Rouge, saying she found her from Women's Intuition, and fights her again. There's a hotel to the right of Club Rouge, but you go into Club Rouge. How does a club have a place for her to live in it? Rouge tells Emerald that she's going to train and to become the ultimate robot thief. She says that you'll always have to deal with guard robots when you're hunting for treasure, even though this is the first and only game where they exist. Sure, there's Gamma robots in SA2, but they're not called that. Eggman actually sells his own robots to make money? Well, if he has a large enough amount to them, I guess it makes sense. But I've always pictured Eggman as having a lot of money because he's rich enough to build so many robots. Yet Rouge is talking as if Eggman's poor. Again, he can take whatever he wants. Why would he run the risk of someone using his robots against him? I'm saying this because if he does this too often, he'll get a Breezy in the reboot situation where she's got way too many robots. Rouge wants Emerald to practice dealing with guard robos by fighting the ones she got here. Why did she think he needs practice? I guess she doesn't trust him because she has trust issues. I like that the game actually did something with Rouge being an anti-hero for once. Usually the only thing anti-hero about Team Dark is that they frown a lot and look menacing. Rouge and Emerald fight Amy in Central City. Then the fight ends, and this is where it gets really weird. The background goes black, and Amy hallucinates Sonic being there with her. And the weirdest part of all is that you actually have the hallucination of Sonic fighting you and doing damage. So is Amy a reality warper? She believes hard enough and her mind makes it real? But it comes out of nowhere and is never brought up again. It's so inconvenient that she's only able to do this when she's starving. I also feel sorry for this hallucination Sonic, because he vanishes out of existence after the fight. This is the first sign that Amy does have some strong special powers within her, and has a lot of potential. It's no wonder she got overpowered in Sonic Frontiers, even if they weren't thinking of that. Rouge tells Emerald to use a technique she taught him to lockpick. We never saw her teach him to open locks. Emerald shows hesitation before opening the lock, even though we never saw Sonic tell him it was wrong. Rouge gets the Chaos Emerald, and Emerald reacts to it and instinctively takes it. He talks like a person, showing that he's growing up from getting stronger. Rouge fights Sonic alone. It's weird that he doesn't fight alongside Sonic though. Sonic tells Emerald that this is serious. Is this Bizarro World? Why is it taking Rouge seriously when both of them can easily take her? Since when is Sonic telling people to be serious, and why does he not get that he's basically looking at himself? Or at least a parody of himself. Sonic tells Emerald to stop pulling his needles, which sounds stupid. And Rouge gives up in frustration with their interaction and insults Amy, because she's annoyed by Emerald's childishness. I love how she teases Sonic. It reminds me of how entertaining Rouge was in SA2, when she was teasing Eggman. Rouge says in exasperation that Amy can have the Chaos Emerald, when she made no indication that's what she was after. And Emerald already has it anyways. She wonders what kind of mess she got herself into. I like that, it makes it relatable. And we get another of Gerald's diary entries. First off, Gerald had a collection of model guns. Isn't he a peaceful man? And second, he didn't verbally swear loyalty to Sonic. Was it because he wasn't able to talk at the time? And third, what exactly does Gerald mean by broken tones? Was his voice cracking? Or was he talking the way he first talked to Sonic and Gerald was just smart enough to understand him? Knuckles' story. Knuckles decided to help Emerald realize his full potential, calling him a warrior after his own heart. Oh, Knuckles. Never mind that Sonic has beaten you in every single fight. He's totally not stronger than you. Meanwhile, Eggman talks about how he wants his Fee robots to bring Emerald back to him, which we already know by now. It's revealed that Emerald started talking more intelligently. And naturally, he talks like a mixture between Sonic and Tails. At least Knuckles didn't get outright angry. Tails explains that Emerald can only use words that he's heard, even though he said thank you before even hearing that phrase. Knuckles' response is pretty hilarious. Knuckles decides to test Emerald's strength. The three of them see a news broadcast reporting on a Fee robot being in Night Babylon. If the cutscene presentation wasn't so abysmal, I'd be able to actually see the TV in the background of the cutscene at the very least, so that I wouldn't be confused at this news broadcast being noticed by them when they're standing outside of Tails' lab. And they meet up with Amy in front of her pink apartment building in Central City. How could any apartment building be pink? Why would everyone who lived in that building agree to that? Somehow Amy doesn't notice the insult Emerald gave her. Well, that was pointless. Does anybody actually laugh at these gags at her expense? Knuckles and Emerald run into a guard robo, and Knuckles scolds him for talking like him, which is hypocritical. Why is he made self-conscious so easily? Why does she even bother saying that? Rouge complains that Emerald is quite the mouth on him, even though he said a word that was barely even a swear. When did he even hear the word heck? Knuckles doesn't yell at Emerald. It shows that he actually does have restraint now. I like him a lot better when he's not around Sonic. And Knuckles asks the store clerk of the bar where the Fee robot is. The store clerk insists that Emerald's the robot, and outright ignores Knuckles when he corrects him. You'd think being with one of the heroes of the world would make the ungrateful store clerk believe him. Eventually they go to the casino, and because of the way Emerald's talking, Knuckles tells him to shut up. Emerald responds with a silence, and then he freaks out. This is one of the most emotionally impactful scenes in the whole game. For once, Knuckles actually apologizes. Although it is smart because it's a robot, so for all he knows, he could start attacking him if he didn't. It would have been a lot better if his picture had actually shown him looking regretful. It makes sense that he wouldn't calm him down right away. So Knuckles leaves without him, which was an incredibly stupid thing of him to do. When Knuckles comes back, he complains about not getting something. It's Knuckles' story. Why didn't we see what happened to him? Get what? Why did he go there in the first place? He notices that Emerald is gone, and gets annoyed and decides to go look for him. A store clerk tells him that he wrecked Nightclub. There's no reason he would have done this. He's supposed to be a hero, and most of the time he's on Angel Island. And second, it's surprising that they got away with saying Nightclub in a Sonic game. The store clerk sends the guard robo after him, causing Knuckles to say something relatable. At one point, Knuckles complains about becoming famous. Wasn't he famous before? One of the heroes of the world? Granted, we never saw any reporters or normal people in front of him that could have witnessed his heroism with Sonic. Club Rouge is a battle club with a membership requirement. I didn't know Rouge was that into fighting. This would be more in character for someone else. Knuckles finds Emerald and Rouge fighting in the ring. So did Emerald try to go to Sonic for comfort and then Rouge intercepted him? Otherwise it's pretty random. Emerald wins, calling himself invincible, and says happily to Knuckles that he's been looking all over for him. I love Rouge's line, it's kind of hilarious. Why would Emerald have missed her? A Fee robot attacks the store clerk, and Rouge points out the obvious. it looks like this game is where she got over her crush on Knuckles, because she's not acting like she likes him in the first place. Emerald gets 2 shards of a Chaos Emerald, and another one from Rouge. And he gives Rouge a backhanded compliment, which is confusing because at no point did Knuckles or Tails or Sonic give backhanded compliments. At no point do they say that they thought of Rouge as useless. For some reason, Knuckles apologizes to Rouge instead of pointing out that it actually is Sonic's fault because Sonic's the one raising him. Rouge says she's got no use for a measly shard. I thought she only collected jewels because she liked the way they looked. Why would she care about whether the emerald was a shard or not? She says she'll collect on the debt by taking Knuckles' Master Emerald. She must be just saying that to tease him, because if she really planned on it, she wouldn't have warned him. Rouge suggests that they go to Tails because he might know something about shards. If someone supposedly familiar with Chaos Emeralds didn't know about them, why would Tails? And Knuckles and Emerald train at the beach. Knuckles laughs and calls him annoying, and Emerald doesn't mind. So why is he not as sensitive as he was before? Or it's because Knuckles wasn't angry with him. Still, that was pretty gutsy Knuckles to say after what happened last time. When Eggman shows up, somehow Emerald doesn't remember him. The next fight is him fighting a fake Emerald. And Emerald gets an Emerald Shard from this. And Eggman runs away. You find him in Central City, and the same fight happens again. And I had to assume that the reason Eggman stopped using Fear Robots is that they aren't as charming looking as Badniks. And they always end up dying, so you might as well just use the Badniks. After this, Emerald gets an Emerald Shard. And Knuckles calls him his battle partner, with Emerald being confused at it for some stupid reason. Eggman's line is pretty funny actually. That's a really stupid name for a base. No one would call a base that. And why would you say where you're retreating right in front of your enemies? Oh right, this is the part of the game where Eggman sets up a trap for Knuckles by yelling that he's going somewhere and getting him to go there. So maybe you should have known better than to follow him. Because no one could be that dumb. I guess everyone in the surrounding area is too afraid to destroy this building. And it got built really quickly. Knuckles gets caught in a trap. An electricity trap. Just like in the intro of Sonic Unleashed. Which makes it less original. Eggman complains that he didn't mean to reveal his plan. That's pretty humorous. And I guess it's in character for him, because he's used to bragging about his plans. After Emerald fights again, Knuckles tells Emerald to pull a switch. And Knuckles complains they did it on purpose. Sonic's idea of playing with Emerald is fighting him, so doesn't Sonic already smack him? So why does Knuckles think that would be a punishment? And Tails talks like they're supposed to be hurt, but they don't look like it. And he has this happy picture when he's saying that, which is really dissonant, of course. So how does Tails put a Chaos Emerald back together? I have to assume that the inside of a Chaos Emerald is sticky for some reason. Emeralds do have the power to attract each other, so it could make sense that it attracts itself. Why does Emerald reveal its secret? He'd know what secret means. I can't tell if Emerald's being an idiot or teasing him. It makes more sense that he's teasing him to imitate Sonic. I love that the game finally reveals in canon that Jiro was trying to save his granddaughter's life. And I hate that they use the word echelon, because most people would have to look it up.